Grove and MC Hammer.
Thank you so much. Wonderful introduction. Good afternoon, everybody.
That was a good job. Good job.
Fantastic. It's such an honor to be here. And Hammer, welcome.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Hammer, you've worn so many hats through the years. Rapper, dancer, actor, entrepreneur, humanitarian. You've sold over 50 million albums. You've won 3 Grammys, 8 American Music Awards, a People's Choice Award. Hammer has over 3 million followers on Twitter and tweets 30 to 40 times a day.
That's all?
That's all?
I'm slowing down.
So talk to us, tell us what you're focusing your time on right now.
Well, I'm focusing right now on a few things. One is going forward. So, today, music, from an artist standpoint, isn't considered a very valuable commodity, but it's valuable to all the businesses that build businesses around the music, right? So there has to be a model that allows artists who make the music to generate revenue streams and revenue streams that go on. And there's an opportunity for that. And so I'm working on that every day. And it's actually exciting. This is probably the most exciting time I've had, with my enthusiasm for tech since 10 years ago when I used to come here and meet with you and Jennifer. A merger of Orchid and Google Video. Have social around video, but they just decided they just buy this thing that was coming up called.
So you were always on the cutting edge of the early adoption of technology. Let's rewind to your early days as an entrepreneur. And I read that when you were a kid, you sold baseballs in the Oakland A's parking lot. Do you consider that your first job? And what did you learn from that experience?
Well, it's my first public job. You can't change. It's funny. One time I was trying to update Wikipedia. There was something on there that wasn't true, and I kept trying to update it, and pretty soon, they kicked me off. And the answer that they gave me was, "We know this is you, Hammer, but if something is said over and over again and it's not refuted, by that very nature makes it true." So I said, "Oh, okay, new rules for truth, a new definition for truth." So with that being said, publicly, my first job is with the Oakland A's, but actually in Las Vegas. Watch this. I'm very proud of my age. That's why I work out every day. In 1967, Las Vegas, I had a fruit stand, and in '69, I worked on an ice cream truck. So if Master P is watching, I was the first ice cream man. And so anyway, and then in '71, Mr. Charles O'Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's, saw me out in the parking lot working deals with the ball players and selling balls, and he invited me. He said instead of being his competition, I should work for him, and he took me under his wing. And by the time I was 16, I was the youngest executive vice president of Major League Baseball.
So along those lines, you got your start as an entrepreneur, like many of the folks in this room. You started your first record label called Bust It Productions in the mid-'80s. Rumor has it that you had borrowed some funding from some of the Oakland A's players to get started, and then you kept the business going by recording singles and selling albums out of the trunk of your car. Talk to us about your early days as an artist and how you really mastered the art of marketing.
So like many of the entrepreneurs here today, the first thing I did on the music side was I read a lot of books. And I always say this, not to brag, but because in certain aspects, education is, for whatever reason, is not highlighted, it's frowned upon for whatever reason. And so I say to a lot of the youth, comprehension in the second grade was third year of college. And I only say that to say that I understood what I was reading and I comprehended it. So I took a lot of books and I read, and I understood the music industry, and then I had to get out there and apply it. So I went to a lot of conferences, and then when I finally decided it's time to get into the business, I had a good understanding of marketing, promotion, grassroots, and it's the exact model. That's why you hear Ben Horowitz use, rap and the analogies of the business of hip hop and compare it so much to startups because they're very similar. So I had to learn grassroots marketing. I had to go into localization. I go into LA. First time I give the young lady my record, she said, "This is not a LA record and I will not play it." And she's a program director, and so I had to figure out a way to market to her and get that record on. So that took a lot. The clubs, the street marketing, sending my friend in to bring some roses to her assistant, take her out to dinner, the whole 9 yards. Just like you have to do when you're trying to get funding.
So that's interesting. So Ben Horowitz opened up Startup Grind last night and talked as well about the parallels. And we talk about this notion of how rap is about hustling and passion and doing whatever it takes to get by. So do you think that hip hop has made you a better entrepreneur and vice versa?
Well, remember, so I started off as an entrepreneur. I brought my entrepreneur skills into hip hop. At the time, again, I'm 86, so no, I'm 86 the year.
You mean born in 86?
I came to hip hop. So in 86 when I came in, you had successful rappers already, obviously, that were very successful from around 82, to 86. But when I came in with a whole different concept. I didn't want to just market to one group. My idea was to create a show and momentum that would allow me to sell records to the same fans that Michael Jackson was selling to and Prince was selling to. And so I had my 10,000 hours in of dancing. I had more than 10,000 hours in of dancing. And so anyway, I knew that putting on a great show would also create an opportunity. And because I grew up with the Open A's, the best players got more deals. So Reggie Jackson, when he hit all them home runs, for those of you who don't remember, he got the Reggie bar. So he had a deal for a Reggie bar. Then he had a deal with Puma shoes, and he had these deals. So when I became MC Hammer, I said, actually, I'm on TV more than baseball players, arguably, and the influence of the music, a baseball player plays one game a day, but a song comes on when it's a hit every hour, so 24 times a day. So if you're giving him $100,000 to promote your brand, then I want $300,000 because I've got more visibility. So I brought that into hip hop when I came in.
So, and you alluded to this earlier, that you and I first met almost 10 years ago now, and you were visiting Google, and you would come a couple times a month, and we'd talk through Orchid and Blogger and Google Video, eventually YouTube, and all these tools and technologies that were novel at the time in the music industry. If you were advising an artist now, 17-year-old artist, how would you break an artist now? How would you advise him or her to approach leveraging all the tech platforms that exist
Well,
to really get out there?
I'm sorry, Mary. The first thing is, you mentioned it was 10 years ago for each one of those platforms. This is for anybody out there that's trying to do something and naysayers discourage you. Never be discouraged by the naysayers. You have to just keep going, because I remember the first time that I really embraced the Twitter platform. This is after I went and sat down and had a meeting with Ev and Biz I grabbed Ron Conway. I said, look, Ron, this other company that you invested in, this thing called Twitter, we need to go have another meeting with them. And he said, why? I said, I'm just telling you, we'll be able to do tickets, cut down the marketing costs, blah, blah, blah. So the first time I started tweeting, there had to be 100 different naysayers, all working in the PR industry, all publicists who said, what kind of entertainer or artist would do his own marketing? And that went on for a couple years. Of course, today, there would be no artist without. social media. So I'm only saying that to say that whatever it is, tools, the first thing I say to an artist is, today, and I have, about 7 young artists that are creating right now, I tell them, first of all, be honest, make the music that you want to make, but make no mistake that we'll be utilizing all new tools to get your music to the consumer. We won't be using the old music model, so you can't measure your impact or your success by the old method as well. So, because all of those are outdated. The whole way that they judge success in music is all outdated, and it's all paid for.
So you talk about Twitter and other social platforms. What are the other tools in the short list that you would use to market your artists today?
Well, here's another one, because I remember I started doing this a couple months ago. I said, what are you doing on that platform? Watch this, Pinterest. It's like, no men are on Pinterest. I go, yes they are. They're smart men are on Pinterest. And besides, what if it's all ladies, a man like me should be there. But no, seriously. No, but seriously, first of all, the engine that's underneath Pinterest is scary to me. I've never seen the possibilities of what Pinterest can do is actually scary. So I'm on Pinterest I'm under MC Hammer, and I have a code up there. It's 3XX320, and what it really stands for, I'm gonna let you in on the secret. It really stands for that when I came into hip hop, the biggest album that ever sold 3 million, and within 3 years, I sold 20 million. So and there was a strategy behind that. It didn't just happen, right? I brought all my marketing plans into the record company, and we would sit at the table, and I told them, you don't understand the culture, you don't understand rap, put the money up, here's the marketing plan. And so anyways, code 320. So on Pinterest, all of my, well not all, but a lot of my ideas for some upcoming, and immediately anything that I want to see, photos, I can direct you to sites, Motown, all this on Pinterest, and it happens fast. So kind of being a little bit sensitive to that, but I don't know. That maybe they should buy Pinterest. I don't know. That engine is scary. It can serve up music, retail, fashion, tickets, the whole 9 yards. So Pinterest is one thing that I'm excited about using for marketing promotion. I'm excited about Evan and Snapchat, even though he didn't take the 4 or the 3 billion, whatever it was. He has a great tool there at Snapchat, and that's very exciting. And again, he's very smart, so it's only scratching the surface.
So I sourced some questions from Twitter, and folks want to know, what are your favorite mobile apps right now? Are there any technologies that you can't live without?
I can't live without my mobile phone. just in general, right? I mean, my gosh, if I'm here right now, I start feeling around. If I don't feel my phone, we got a problem, Houston. Because
I think it's time to tweet again.
Yeah, well, just everything, and even that, tweeting. If you don't approach it right, if you don't internalize it correctly, it's labor to you. It's never labor to me, ever, to tweet. It's never labor, ever. If I want to get in touch with the Wall Street Journal and the editor of the Wall Street Journal, all I do is look on my Twitter feed. She follows me. If I want to deal with Fast Company or Wired or Harvard Review or all of very important people who are tastemakers, economy makers, they're all there. This, you spend years and years and hundreds of thousands of dollars for people to make these relationships for you. Twitter removes that if you're comfortable enough to try to create a dialogue, and then there's a relationship.
I noticed that you really do monitor and respond and retweet constantly and really engage very authentically.
Well, you look at some of the best CEOs, in the Valley, Mark Benioff, Mark is right there, Salesforce. What do you ask? Even if it's a problem, Mark's going to respond, he's going to execute and try to get it done. issues that face, the Valley right now. Mark takes to Twitter. He knows if he blasts it out, it's there again. All the important journalists and newsmakers, they're all there. So, platforms like that are very important, more so than a lot of people realize.
So pausing on that for a bit, you are an Oakland native, and you're very, very active in your local community, both in Oakland and the Bay Area more generally. Can you talk to us a bit about how you're spending your time in community and the topics that you're advocating for and that you're most passionate about?
Well, again, the base is Oakland, as you said, the greater Bay Area, my heart and soul. It's difficult. It's difficult because I traverse both worlds on a daily basis. So I may sit with Mark Benioff or Jack Dorsey or whoever 1 minute, and then the next minute I'm in West Oakland, and I can see every day, the inequality, right? And I can see where hopelessness versus the hopeful, and the gulf in between, and then to inspire hope. If you're reared around hope, it's easier. But if you're raised in hopelessness, then it's harder to embrace hope. So, understanding that it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. So it's a lot of problems to solve. You have to make education exciting. You have to understand that affordability of housing is important. You have to understand that the value of kids who come from homes that have less income are as important as somebody who has $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion. So it's a lot of factors. A lot of factors.
And following up on that, we know that the web has been this democratizing layer, creating opportunities for entrepreneurs in this room to reach audiences all over the world. What advice to that end do you have inspiring entrepreneurs in the room here about how they can really give back to their communities?
Well, my number one is to adopt the model that Mark Benioff created, the 1-1-1. That's the best I've seen, and I think that especially for those of you who are based here, 1% of the equity of the company, 1% of the time of the employees, and 1% of your product on the founding, when applicable, on the founding of the company, is made available for you to create a foundation. Like I think Yelp now has $50 million in their foundation because they adopted that model from the beginning. And so that model enables you to be able to effectively, you don't have to go out and raise money, right? As the company grows, the money's there. And the culture that you're creating for your company of giving back, it happens right away because 1% of the employee time is for, working in the community and helping the community. So that's what I would recommend to the entrepreneurs. I heard something this morning. I came over here from, we're not supposed to talk about it or tweet about it, but I can talk about it. If not, I'll hear about it. But I just came over from a CEO summit right now, and some of the things that were said is around that same subject on how the CEOs and the founders can be more effective in the community, and it's culture, creating culture at your company. Drew was just speaking about this, Drew Houston from Dropbox. He was just saying how he had a few meetings when he was creating the company, and people were telling him about culture, and he was like, this is his own words, but I'm paraphrasing, but Drew was like, how is that going to help me with this code? I got to get this code because I have to get the product right. And but now today, culture in his company for him is as important as the product. And so to all the entrepreneurs here, I would say setting the foundation of the culture of the company is extremely, extremely important, along with the other things that I just mentioned.
So when we introduced you, we chose just 3 words. Could you choose 3 words to describe the culture of a company you'd like to create?
You got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at. So, in saying that, I'm a person who I like to empower people. I like to empower. So previously, I would say I would be more of a control freak, right? I got to micromanage. But you're much more powerful when you empower your employees. Give them the power to make decisions, to create, to make mistakes, to fall down and get back up and all these things. And it creates a better culture at the company. So I'm learning that more and more. So the perfect company for me is to delegate authority and allow people to do what they do and but pick great executives and a great team to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're going to switch gears a bit and take a few questions from the audience. I know there's microphone runners. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand. Question in the back.
First of all, Mr. Hammer, I just want to thank you for what you've said here today. It's very inspiring. My name is Michael Lee Parker. I was born in Oakland, raised in Richmond, California. I know you understand that struggle. Went to work for Toyota, broke away, started a technology company, and now doing some innovative things that I think will be $1 billion opportunity. When you talked about empowering, is there anything that you're doing right now to leverage your success and your connections to maybe open doors for people like myself that come from areas that you understand, that are in the technology world and trying to get to the right people and open and get to the right doors of opportunity? You have such a platform now that could help make that connection that not everybody in certain communities understands. So what are you doing to empower and help bridge some of those gaps to leverage what you have now to help people like me?
And that's a fair question. So there's 2 answers I'll give you for that. The first answer is all year long, I'm pretty accessible. I see a few people sitting in the crowd right now who have contacted me over the years and needed to make a connection. And I've helped them make those connections. And secondly, I would say that part of, this is how I describe it. Silicon Valley, the tech world here, is the NBA, right? Now you got a lot of players who look good on the playground on the weekend. They dream of playing in the NBA. But they're really not prepared to play, nor do they have the skill set to play in the NBA. So when I see or encounter somebody that I think has real NBA opportunities, or skills, I should say, skill set, I'm gonna do everything I can to help them. Why? I invest. I want you to make it as much as the next man, because this is all business. But do I think that the doors should just fly open and everybody come on in? Of course not. And neither does the NBA. They have a vetting process, they have a filter system, and what we see on the playing field is the best of the best. And that's why I say for this business, I had to come in myself and work every day to create connections, relationships, so that when I didn't know that 10 years later that Mary would say, hey, let's sit down and talk. But imagine being MC Hammer, a rapper. See, and that's how they, especially 10 years ago, right? A rapper. What does he want over here? This is Google. And they turn around and next week, guess who's here knocking at it? I need to get in. So what I'm saying to you is, I'm willing to help and point and all that, but the real best of the best, they'll make their way through. It always happens. The cream rises to the top. The barrier of entry is no longer, there's so many incubators around now, so many paths to get here, but you have to want it enough to get in. And you have to build a skill set or the product, the team to get in. That's my answer.
Coming from the early onset of hip-hop, what do you currently think about the state of hip-hop now?
All I know is the best rapper in the business today is a young man who's just started. His name is Ace K.O. Ace K.O. And the rest, I got this from Birdman. But one time Birdman was debating with somebody about who's the best rapper, and he said, I can't see nobody but Junior. And he was talking about Lil Wayne. He said, other than Junior, I can't see nobody. I can't see past Junior. So my answer is, I have a young rapper by the name of Ace K.O. that I would put up against anybody. He's incredible. Make me kind of feel bad. The best I had seen in the studio was Tupac. I was in the studio with Tupac from January until September, the year that he passed. And I watched Pac every day when we go in the studio, and he had his method. Sit down, fire up a joint, put a little Hennessy in a cup, and he'd tell the producer, put a beat up. And the man would put up a beat, and it might be 10 of us in there. And Pac would listen to the beat, he'd have his little pad out, he'd scribble something down. I promise you, about 10 minutes he'd get up. And when he'd get up, the other 10 of us are looking at each other. I know he's not finished with a whole verse. And Pac would walk in the booth, spit that whole verse, flawless. Maybe one or two times he'd like, let me hit that one more time. But other than that, about the first time he do it, it's done. And he'd come back out the booth and he said, who got the second verse? So Pac would sit back down. If you don't have it, and he go in there and lay it down. And basically at the end of the day, Pac maybe did 5 or 6 songs, and a couple of guys got on a couple of songs, but for the most part, they couldn't keep up. Now, by no means am I saying that this new young man is Tupac. There's only one. But what I'm saying is, it's the first time in 25 years that I was impressed with see, recording is an art. So I was impressed with this young man who first had these fantastic lyrical skills, but when he got behind the microphone, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ready to go now. And he said, let's do one more song. And I said, no, we're not doing one more, because one more means we're gonna be here till noon. And he said, no, I got the whole song in here. I said, what do you mean in here? A verse? You got a verse? He said, no, I got the whole song. So to make a long story short, he went to the booth and he did a 5-minute song in one take. Wow. With no chorus. He rapped all the way through. I don't care if you already knew the song or whatever it was, you don't do a whole song in one take and rap for 5 minutes. So I give you the next best artist in the world. Keep your eye on him. His name is Ace K.O. And that's what he's gonna do, knock him out.
Word up.
I know.
Tupac story. Killing me here. Up launching in a few months. I promised my Twitter community I would ask you this question, and that is increase of crowdfunding and projects like Nipsey Hussle's Crenshaw, where people support good music instead of buying it. Where do you see the distribution model going for independent artists and specifically?
We simply do not have time for that one. But I'll give you the short answer. So the short answer is that it's going to be very tough going forward with the existing models. That's why we need young entrepreneurs like yourself creating new models. Because right now, for branded artists, legacy artists, artists who already have a name of following years in history, they should do their own channel. And they should have their own streaming service. Like me, I'm gonna have the Hammer channel. Because number one, all of my content that I own, 100 songs, 150 songs, anything that I'm related to, all in one place. $9.99 subscribers, whatever it is. If an artist that you love has, artists who have brands should now have their own streaming service. And I won't go into detail, but they should. YouTube should have its own channel that they own. That they give you the backstory to when they wrote the song, where they produced it, other stories they have that only they can wrap around and bring you inside of that world, right? You shouldn't have to go to a channel that has an artist's name but doesn't have his imprint, his voice, his history. So that's one thing. A new artist, unfortunately, in this model, he has to make a choice. Do you sign and allow a company to build your brand for you? It's almost like going to college, right? You know, 4 years, and if you can make it to the NFL or the NBA, it's a fair exchange. They make the college, makes all the money, you get the education and the opportunity. In the music business, new artists sign with the major label, they'll create your brand, they'll take you to a certain place, piece of your merchandising, 360 all the way around. If you want to maintain through the doors that are music driven, they're relationship driven. They're meant to keep you out because you cannot entry. If you can get in for less of a fee than the guy who was the doorkeeper, he's going out of business, and that's not going to happen. So anyway, that's food for thought for you.
Thank you.
So a few closing questions for you.
Sure.
What can we expect from you over the next few months? You've talked about the artists that you're working with. Tell us about your plans over the coming weeks.
Well, I'm getting up every morning thinking about next year. So next year will be the 25th anniversary of the Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em album. And what I want to do for the anniversary is make the whole celebration tech-oriented. New platforms, new ideas, new concepts. So I'm partnering with companies right now that will be a part of the celebration. And it's going to be 100%, again, social and tech-driven. And that creates a lot of opportunity every day. I'm excited about that. I was hoping that by the time I got here today, I could make one announcement, but unfortunately, the provisional patent did not come back in time. So I can't talk about it in the way that I wanted to, but only, it's on my Twitter homepage anyway, the socialization of energy. And so we're working on an energy-related project. And as you know, entrepreneurs always keep their hand in some things. So I'm excited about energy as well. But creating content going forward is the thing. All premium content, from music to film to you name it.
Thank you. So in closing, I'd love to do something I call free word association, where I say a word and you just say the first word that comes to your mind.
Sure.
Digital.
Watch.
Platform.
Meaning wearable. So
Wearable
digital watch. Wearable.
Digital watch.
Yeah.
Platform.
Pinterest.
Brand.
Brand. Beyonce.
Inspiration.
Beyonce. No, I just kept. The second time.
Please.
What Beyonce did when she released her album, she should receive even more credit than she's already received, and more accolades. Because again, her model of releasing the album with zero marketing and zero promotion and zero radio play and zero video, 4 areas, and she disrupted all of them and sold X amount of, just spent somewhere between 12 and 16 million on the marketing of their project. Went on purpose with that. And she had to look at Beyonce spend zero and disrupt everything. That was a very impressive strategy that she used, and it disrupted things going forward for artists on that level.
Extremely impressive. Final word. Hammer pants.
Don't Hurt 'em 25. So the DH 25, Don't Hurt 'em 25th anniversary next year. So that's that's my answer. Hammer pants, hammer dance.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's give it up for MC Hammer.
Woo! Well, thank you guys. Awesome.